Hey, have you ever used a Siri and wondered why it's nowhere near as good as GPT yet? Well, Apple may have just leaked to the world exactly what they have in store for Apple's AI, Apple's artificial intelligence, and it might actually make Siri really functional. In fact, potentially more functional, using less power and being more capable than any AI we're using today. See, Apple detailed their plans in this particular paper I'm about to show you. But I want you to know, not only am I going to show you this paper, I'm also going to speculate a little bit on where AI could show up at Apple and how much it might actually benefit Apple's stock. So, let's get into it. This right here is a document just released by the Apple team, and it's called Reference Resolution as Language Modeling. They're calling it ReALM, spelled R-E-A-L-M, just like the word realm. Now, what they do is they start off with a lot of technical jargon, like reference issues that large language models might end up having. I'm going to just simplify this. Hey, show me pharmacies around here. And let's say then the user comes back and says, you know what, let's pick the bottom one. Well, the problem with just a text-based dialogue is sometimes that text-based voice assistant doesn't actually know which one you're referring to because they're not spatially aware of what's on your screen or behind your screen. And this is where Apple's piece is really a game changer. What they essentially argue is you need a vision-based AI assistant that can both see what's on your screen. Pick the third one. Oh, you know what? Let's go with that one. Let's say you're interacting with Apple TV, right? Hey, show me XYZ on Amazon.com. You know what? Let's pick the second one from the top. That's a lot easier to interact with, but it requires the voice assistant knowing what's on your screen. Apple is saying, we may have found the solution, and our solution may actually use less power, be used on device. That is, you don't have to send the data to a cloud, all your personal sensitive information to like the OpenAI cloud, and then you get an answer back. Instead, everything would just be processed within your phone, so it would be private and secure, supposedly. And the voice assistant would know exactly what you're seeing on your phone. But not just that, the voice assistant would also know that if you say, hey, can you make it brighter in this room? It would know that you might actually be referencing your smart home dimmer switch, and then it might increase the brightness in your room rather than just showing you a step-by-step tutorial on how to change the brightness on your phone, which is what text-based bots do today. Now, Apple goes through this in detail, and the entire PDF set I have already thrown up on ehack.com. You can download it there totally for free with my annotations on it. And what they really try to accomplish is finding a mobile-based voice assistant that understands references to the screen that are natural and behind the screen. So in other words, your other apps. We all know that we have apps that want to interact with other apps. We don't want to have to move between different apps with our fingers because that eliminates our voice control. It eliminates the natural interaction. Hey, could you copy and paste that last message from so-and-so and throw it in an email to so-and-so? Well, good luck getting a chatbot to do that today. It requires that manual input, but that's actually what becomes the barrier to using a voice assistant. Or what about the fact that when we use voice dictation, there's no grammatic or does this make sense fact checker going into your dictation. That's why we swear when we don't mean to and say things that are totally wrong because, quite frankly, the device is writing down what it thinks you're saying, but it's not writing down what makes sense, whereas an AI-powered voice assistant would be able to solve that. So, as is usual for Apple's form, Apple is actually trying to solve a mobile-first AI problem that's actually quite difficult to solve. It's more expensive to train this sort of data. We know that text-based AI is also problematic because look at Midjourney. We're able to get beautiful designs and images, but it took nearly a year to start getting some text-based artificial intelligence. Usually you'd get these bizarre characters. You couldn't even get fingers right for a while there. People were selling fake fingers on Amazon to make it seem like when they were wearing it, they were AI. And essentially, oh, that's not me, that's AI. Look at the hand. They're selling little dummy fingers. Because AI had been pretty bad at generatively creating images of people's hands and text. Now it's gotten a lot better and we've made a lot of progress, but there might actually be a reason why Apple is so delayed. Now, I'm not trying to shill for Apple here, but I do want you to think about what implications this could have, not just for the user, but also the stock. So I wrote down a few potential examples of how this could be useful. First of all, Siri with AI on your phone, private, secure, you can control other apps and in between apps. That would be a game changer. Dictation with AI, does this actually make sense? Game changer. AI, obviously, in pages and numbers, kind of like a co-pilot. Game changer. Or built-in Grammarly, right? Game changer. How about home AI? See, that would be huge. Right now, home or smart home products really suffer from what I call the dumb home effect. That is, most smart home software requires scheduling that's maybe based on the sunrise or the sunset with some delays built in. I've been building smart homes for nearly a decade. I started in 2015 building out smart home infrastructures, whether I was using Indigo Domo, whether I was using, who remembers Insteon technology, the good old Z-Wave technologies. A lot of these older products we don't really use much anymore. Now everybody loves the Lutron Casita, for example, right? Fantastic product. But still, a lot of it is programmatic. You push a button and then your scene inputs. These 5 switches change. These drapes open, these motors turn on, whatever. These are very, very simple inputs. They're kind of like computers back in the 80s. If this, then that. Very simple. There's actually no smart in the smart home. But see, I expect home AI from Apple could actually be really good in the longer term, because now you can integrate Apple Home with artificial intelligence. Similarly, for things like the Vision Pro, maybe you could have Vision AI where it actually uses AI to set up your screens so it's not freaking annoying. Maybe that doesn't even need AI. But the point is, there are a lot of things Apple could probably improve with artificial intelligence, whether it's, hey, it sounds like people really aren't listening to this music right now. Instead, they're trying to have a conversation, they're having trouble hearing each other. Maybe we could lower the volume on these speakers, sort of natural adaptation. Very interesting potentials. Remember what Apple has access to. Not only your health data via the watches, all of the facial data, I'm sure they're collecting a voice data from, that's scary to think about, from all the cameras around you and microphones around you, but pretty much every part of your life, Apple has exposure to. The phones, headphones, the other accessories. So the potential for AI, I think, is actually really substantial. Problem is, as usual, Apple's behind, and there's no guarantee that Apple's actually going to be able to pull any of this off. Remember, Apple has been in talks with Google and Baidu to try to start licensing some AI. So that's scary because it somewhat implies that Apple isn't go-to-market ready with any of these. That, quite frankly, this research project that they're writing here, this research report, or the ideas that I have are just that. They're just ideas. And quite frankly, we might be years away from some of the things that I talked about here. Now, that's despite the fact that when they compare ReALM, ReALM, when they compare it to GPT, they actually think they are better and more efficient than GPT at performing a lot of tasks. Look, for example, GPT-4 incorrectly assumes the reference to be only about a setting, whereas the ground truth consists of a home automation device in the background as well, right? This further understanding of what is actually going on. This is where they say, we find the performance of ReALM and GPT are similar for an unseen domain that is just text-based, right? However, we demonstrate that the entities that are present on the screen can be passed into a large language model using a novel textual representation that effectively summarizes the user's screen while retaining relative spatial positions of these entities. We show that ReALM outperforms previous approaches and performs roughly as well as the state-of-the-art GPT-4 today, despite consisting of fewer parameters, even for on-screen references. It also outperforms GPT for domain-specific utterances, thus making ReALM an ideal choice for practical reference resolution, a practical reference resolution system that can exist on device without compromising on performance. That's really important because we don't want performance to go in the toilet or battery usage to go way up, which basically either your device is slow or your battery drains really quickly, or worst case scenario, both, right? So everything we're talking about here could just be like, it's going nowhere. It's entirely possible. We do know that Apple essentially has their AI day coming up on June 10th, and so we'll get a little bit of a reveal for what's coming. I suspect we're going to get something like this on screen now. Now we'll talk about this in detail, but quickly, I just want to pitch a few things. I've got some beautiful programs on building your wealth. If you want to build your wealth, make sure you check out that coupon code expiring this Friday for the programs on building your wealth through real estate, stocks, entrepreneurship, the Gold Coast course on AI or business entrepreneurship, tax write-offs, tax efficiency. We've got a really great suite of products, so check those out over at meetkevin.com. So, where do I think Apple goes with this? Well, I actually think Apple has a huge potential to create the most functional AI in our life, and they'll end up charging for it as part of the Apple One package. Now, there's something to know. Apple right now has 2.2 billion installed devices. This is all ehack.com. Apple has 1 billion paying subscribers. Let's just assume for a moment that 20% of people are willing to pay, say, an extra $20 a month for Apple AI as opposed to GPT, which really wouldn't cost you anything extra because you would probably just be replacing your GPT subscription, which likely hurts Microsoft in comparison to Apple, especially since they have a 49% stake in OpenAI. But anyway, I actually think this could lead to a 31% beat in Apple's expectations or expected earnings going forward, and then I expect that to compound. So Apple's stock so far, in my opinion, hasn't really priced any of this in. Look, for example, at this. Apple, in a one-year time span, is up just 2%. Microsoft is up 47%. This means I think there's a 45% catch-up opportunity that Apple has going forward, which could add over $1 trillion to Apple's market cap. In addition to that, though, I think Microsoft is actually at a risk of having some of its AI revenues potentially robbed by Apple, as people maybe cancel their GPT in favor of Apple, if Apple does come out with something as exciting as maybe we're talking about here. Of course, if it's less exciting, then you would get less of that. Now, keep in mind, Microsoft is primarily a services business, right? And you can see this all broken down on ehack.com. I broke down the different segments. Microsoft, while they have the physical Xbox, most of their stuff is either in service games, like game design, Windows, Microsoft Azure, obviously servers, it's a service, right? Bing, 365. These businesses make a lot of money for Microsoft. They had $62 billion in total revenues just in the last quarter and a 35.3% net margin. So they've got over $22 billion coming to the bottom line in just one quarter, which is really awesome. That's actually $21.87 billion in the last quarter coming to their bottom line. Apple actually brings in about 50% more to the bottom line than Microsoft does. That's crazy. Did you know that? Apple makes 50% more money than Microsoft does? Wild. And that's despite the fact that Microsoft has a substantially larger market cap than Apple. It's 20% larger than Apple based on its stock valuation. Now, why is that? Well, it's mostly because Microsoft, being mostly a services business, has slightly higher margins, and all of services are pretty much exposed to AI. So people see it as an AI play, and Microsoft's partnership in OpenAI lets people feel like they're getting exposure to OpenAI while investing in Microsoft. On the flip side, 70% of Apple's business comes from products, not services. And a slowdown in iPhone sales weighs heavily on Apple stock, whereas a slowdown in PC sales doesn't really affect Microsoft because they're growing in so many other parts of the business, like data center, AI, whatever, right? So, Apple, without AI in sight, is a stock that flounders. Apple with AI, in my opinion, is a stock that could skyrocket. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not advocating you personally invest in Apple. I'm exposed to Apple, and I'm not exposed to Microsoft. So maybe I'm really biased here in this video, and that's entirely possible. And you should take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I just want to be clear. I think the market has passed up on Apple. And what I think a lot of people are missing is that Apple's probably going to end up releasing a new M series of chips that are specifically designed for Apple products with AI. So, hey, want to run GPTs on your phone? Make sure you get the iPhone 16, or they call it the iPhone AI, or the MAI chip, whatever, right? It's basically a way of potentially pushing a whole new product refresh cycle and making everybody still on the iPhone 12 finally wake up and get the new iPhone 16. It could be the greatest product refresh cycle ever if Apple plays this right. So, now, I want to be very, 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 very clear. Apple, I think, is a fantastic company. But I think they really screwed up by being so late on the AI game. This piece should have been out a year ago. Oh, I understand it's going to take time and money to get to that level of AI, but the level of AI that Apple is talking about is keenly functional to our daily lives. Now, I understand GPTs and copilots are very functional for people who work spreadsheets or coding on a daily basis, or advertisers who are putting together descriptions or generatively created images or short video clips. They're fantastic opportunities for using AI today. But I think for the vast majority of people, I would argue 80+% of people, AI doesn't really enter our daily life regularly. I would say that's true for the vast majority of people. So, if you want to see how I use AI, make sure to join the Gold course. Check out those courses over at meetkevin.com. And then you'll get lifetime access to our course member live streams and buy and sell alerts as well for any time I make a move in my portfolio. So check those out. And if you were part of them, you already know if I added to my position in Apple or my exposure to Apple or not. Anyway, thank you so very much for watching this. These are some of the thoughts that I have after reading this Apple piece. I'm actually pretty excited about AI Day. Go Apple.
Advertise these things that you told us here. I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.